Hey, in today's video I'll talk about how do I recruit for technical roles, especially people who are working in different types of product teams. Hey, Juan here. I am a product director who has been working in tech companies for like over 10 years, and I've been recruiting different type of product roles over the years, and I've been involved in many different types of interviews for very different types of roles, although most of them have been different product roles. What I'm going to talk about are the steps that I follow in order to recruit, and this is going to be something potentially quite important if you are watching this from the other side of the fence and you think how a recruiter will be looking at the potential candidates for a specific position. So one of the first things that I want to see when I start to screen over the different candidates I'm getting is a very simple CV as much as possible. I don't want a lot of fluff. I rather that it's as simple and as to the point as possible, because many times you had to read over tens of these CVs and it's quite time consuming. So every time that you open a PDF that might be several pages long, it's just like, you already kind of lose your interest. So rather have something very simple that potentially is linking to something else. If there is some resource out there that could be interesting, something like, for example, our portfolio that I could take a look into. So having a very short CV that describes your strengths, in what roles you have been working, and what kind of responsibilities you have taken in the past, it helps a lot to understand what kind of role could you be fulfilling. Next, I'm going to be looking a lot into the cultural fit. It is very important, in my opinion, to have a good fit in the company way of working or in the team way of working. So in the team that I manage, it has a very strong product culture. So it's something that I find that is very important for the team, and I think that that's something that has to be kept in mind. So having a proper fit with the kind of team that you are going to be working is something that is going to be very important. So it's very important that people that would want to join that kind of team would have that kind of culture as well, and understand, for example, how other product companies out there work. How do I test this? Typically, this is something that I myself include in the interviews that I participate. We also have people from HR participating in these interviews that helps also understand if the cultural fit for the company exists or not. And finally, there are other team members that are going to be participating in different teams as well, that are going to help define if there is a cultural fit or not with the person that you are recruiting. And cultural fit doesn't mean that you get along and that you laugh on the same jokes. The next one that I'm going to be looking at is that people typically that I'm looking for has to have some kind of experience within tech companies. It depends a lot for what kind of position you are looking. If you are looking for a more junior position or somebody that is more entry level, you can have a little bit more time to make sure that you help those people grow. When you are looking for somebody that is more senior, typically it's going to be very difficult that you get somebody that doesn't have that kind of a background already on their own. And why is this something that is very important for me? Typically I hire mostly for senior positions, which makes it very difficult for me to grow people from the beginning. There's good and bad reasons for this. One of them, working in smaller companies, usually you don't have a big enough team. Typically you don't have enough senior people in the teams that have the time to work with the newcomers to help them grow in their roles. Then what I'm going to be looking at is knowledge on the principles of the work that they are going to be doing. So for example, if I'm recruiting for a product manager or a product designer, I'm going to look if they have the understanding of that type of work. How am I going to do this? Typically, I'm going to be participating in the interviews, and there's going to be somebody else who is fulfilling that kind of role, like a product manager or a product designer, that is going to be also participating in the interview and understanding or trying to understand as much as possible how much the person that should be in interview understand that type of role and knows the principles of working in that kind of role and actually can apply them in practice when it comes to do the work. This leads me to the next one, which is how do you actually make sure that they can apply those principles into their real work. So here, typically, what I do is conduct some kind of exercise on how can they plan their work, how do they do the work, how do they understand the principles, for example, of product management. The next one that I'm going to be paying attention to is how do they work with other stakeholders. So how do they work with other teams out there in the company? For this, typically what I'm going to do is invite people from other teams to the interview. So especially the people that they're going to be working more regularly. As you can imagine, being a tech company, interviews with people from engineering team are going to be very important because there's going to be pretty much day-to-day collaboration. Sometimes it's going to be important also to interview with other people that they are going to regularly be working with. So for example, product marketing or documentation. So these were about the process, how I recruit typically the people, but there's other things that are going to be very important in my opinion as well. First of all, me as a recruiter, I had to make sure that I have a clear role, a clear definition of what the product is, the position is, and what the company is doing. So whoever is applying has a very good understanding which position, what type of company they are applying to. And hopefully this has the effect that reduces the amount of people that apply to the role that are only people who are relevant for the role that I'm looking for. Next is that I participate a lot in different Facebook groups and Reddit groups, especially in product management, and I see a lot of people talking about certifications and which certification should I get. In all honesty, I rarely pay attention to the certifications. It's always nice when you see somebody that has some kind of certification in product management, but the reality is that this is not something that I pay too much attention to because I actually pay more attention to people having the experience managing products and understanding clearly what are the principles of product management. And not everybody can afford those certifications because usually they are quite pricey. One thing that I think is extremely valuable when I see a CV or an application is that people that have a link to their portfolio. Please don't include your portfolio in your resume or in the cover letter or anything like that. Put it in a link and then I can go and take a look. It is extremely beneficial for me to understand how you work and what are the things that you pay most attention to. Your portfolio many times is going to reveal how you work and what are the things that you pay the most attention to. So if you have a portfolio, always link it in your resume. And next one, I think it's going to be very important from my point of view to not waste any candidate's time. So it's very important to keep candidates up to date on the process, especially candidates that you think that are relevant for the position, so they know that you are interested in them and that you would like to continue the process with them. Job market nowadays in tech companies is extremely competitive, so it's very important that candidates know if you are interested or not, because they might have been having some kind of other offer on the table at the moment that you are having the discussions with them. So if you are thinking about preparing for a job interview for a product manager and you are not completely sure how to prepare, a while ago I uploaded a set of videos that tries to emulate how exercises on product management are done in companies. So if you want to see how this works, go and take a look at this video up here. If you have any comments or points of view of things that I should be paying attention that maybe I'm not paying that much attention now, or points of view that you have as an applicant, please share with all of us in the comments below. If you find this content valuable, give it a like. It will help YouTube promote it to other people out there. I will see you in the next video, and remember, stay safe.